Welcome to The Critical Path, Greater Vancouver REALTORS podcast exploring professionalism and innovation in real estate. Every month, we'll sit down with industry leaders to discuss critical issues and the paths we must take to overcome them. Now, if you're a practicing commercial realtor, you might know that the global standard for commercial real estate professionals is the Certified Commercial Investment Member, or CCIM designation. Or maybe you don't, because here's the thing. There are over 9,500 professionals with the CCIM designation in North America, but only about 100 of them are here in Canada, not just British Columbia, across Canada. Why is that? Are Canadian realtors missing out on something big? Some have said CCM is like a master's for commercial realtors. It's not just a designation, it's a mark of distinction, and having that pin might open doors that would otherwise stay shut. This could be an untapped opportunity for those who want to reach the top in their field. So today, we have Steve Da Cruz, president of CCIM's Western Canada chapter, joining us to delve us into why a CCIM pin is so valuable and how their new partnership with Greater Vancouver REALTORS could change the game for many of you. Welcome to The Critical Path, Steve.
Thanks so much, and thank you to all your members for tuning in. I mean, it's really amazing to have this opportunity to talk about this.
We are thrilled that we have this podcast now. This is one of the kind of first episodes we're doing, but we're really starting to hit our stride here, and we're thrilled to have you in here today. It's such nice weather, so we're glad that you took some time to
spend it in a basement with you.
Yeah, exactly. Come down to our little hole and talk about commercial real estate. So let's start at the top. Give our listeners an idea of what CCIM is.
Yeah, so CCIM is a institute. It's approaching 60 years old. It's a nonprofit organization. Interestingly enough, the original curriculum was written in pencil and Whistler on a trip. So as the commercial real estate industry has matured, the institute has matured. And so our course offerings reflect the best of the best in the industry coming back into the fold and contributing that knowledge as a legacy vehicle toward bettering the field. So we have training all the way from novice to the advanced professional. We actually have a separate ward center for studies for ongoing training with commercial realtors. And side note, about half of our membership at any one time are actually not realtors. They're investors, non-transactional financial professionals, lawyers, appraisers. We have asset managers at Brookfield, Canderel. Some of the biggest institutions in the world are CCIMs. So there's not many of us in Canada. We're the loneliest designation, as we like to say, but we have people everywhere.
Well, and it sounds like a great way to kind of branch out, right, and do things kind of adjacent. But talk a little bit more about the partnership that you've got with GVR now, because we're starting to see a little bit more. We recently put out some information about the Cultural Diversity Program. Tell us a little bit more about what this partnership is going to mean for our members.
Well, we're really excited about it. As I mentioned, CCIM as an institute is approaching 60 years old, so we had internal direction over the past few years to rebrand ourselves. And so seeing the initiatives that Jeff has taken on here at GVR, we saw a unique opportunity, sort of peanut butter and chocolate, if you will. Like, well, if you're relaunching yourself to the marketplace, so are we. Let's, get together and eliminate some of the redundancy. So this partnership, this memorandum of understanding, the goal here is to become the preferred education provider and help drive the conversation in Canada and restore the public faith that we serve the public interest, utilizing the best resources possible in the marketplace. We're the tip of the spear when it comes to performance. CCIMs earn more, do more deals, and work with the best entities in the marketplace. So using that, having the public see it and see the hard work that's happening, behind doors, right? Like, as you mentioned, there's about 100 of us in Canada. So people don't actually know what's happening. But you have a CCIM at every major brokerage firm in Canada. Right. And so having that be brought to the public knowledge, utilizing those courses, whether they're novice or the advanced professionals, so that realtors can continue their education, but also enter a safe space. So there's an element of humility as you get into your career where it's kind of hard in commercial real estate. You feel a little silly calling someone up and say, hey, how do you do that?
Yeah.
It's a strange thing. So we have actually a canon of courses, over 80, that are online. Some are in person. But if you want to know how to calculate a building floor plate, there's a course for that, right? You can actually go and get it, and you can ask somebody. We have an interbroker network We can literally drop a question in a really safe space and get an answer from people all over the world.
For really specific knowledge.
For specific
right?
knowledge.
Yeah.
So for designees, there's 59 chapters in the world. So you can stay with your clients and traverse borders all around the world and deliver different opportunities that can really enhance your service offerings. I had a client with 10 point of sales in high-end fashion retail. We talked about Manhattan and dropped it in the chat. I had 15 phone calls that day, and we were setting up tours the next week.
Wow.
You know, they weren't prepared for $675 per square foot net, but the exercise is there, right? And so it really does unlock things that like kind of blow your mind in certain ways. And then we have tools behind the training that get access, that deliver things that, you know, typically a lot of practitioners out there might not even know exist. So we can run a void analysis and like run that against what a target audience would be declaring with StatsCan as their rental amount. Now we know what industries would be the best tenant for that property, so we can actually be much more efficient in our services. So all that stuff we want to bring to the forefront, and with GVR, having realtors know that we're out there, because for one, everything has gotten more and more complicated. The public's access to data is only increasing.
That's right.
So I'm of the opinion things are not going to get easier. You know, the liability is not going down.
Right.
You know, I have parcels I sold 5 years ago that have quadrupled in value. But, you know, the skill sets not necessarily have kept up, right? But the decision-making criteria, especially right now with high interest rates, everything that's happening in the marketplace with repricing, office assets, you know, read the headlines. Anything can give you a heart palpitation these days.
Yeah.
So decision criteria underwriting that on financial institutions is much more strict. So having access to these people that can help guide these kind of investment decisions is crucial in the marketplace. It's an efficiency that's lacking. And so we can help deliver better outcomes. And when you deliver better outcomes, you have better things happening in your own community, right? If a person or an investor understands what they're getting into and how to get out of it, perhaps we avoid job losses when they have to let people go. They're operating more efficiently. And so higher paid jobs, that actually tackles affordability from the ground up, right? When we're doing things from a better standpoint, right? And I think there's a real traction for that, real appetite for that across the service industry.
It sounds like, and you might be answering my next question here, because, you know, we've heard a lot internally here at GVR about how underserved some of our commercial members feel. It sounds like it's an awareness issue, right? Because it's all this stuff is out there, right? Like everything that you've just talked about is so valuable to the average member, but is that really just kind of where the missing link is, do you think?
Yeah, it's part of it. Like we need platforming to get the message out there. Like, you know, we're here, it's been 60 years, you know, but there's been a way of doing business in Canada that's a bit different than in the U.S. It's much more competitive in the U.S. The markets are more mature. You know, we're talking more than 10x in terms of scale. So the underwriting is going to be much more important behind decision-making in a lot of cases. However, right now we have that opportunity with everything that's happening and people questioning what realtors do to actually come in and provide some of that comfort.
What is it exactly that a commercial realtor needs to really be successful? And how is this connection that we're making between GVR and CCIM helping them get there?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So commercial real estate is vast. You know, like there's many asset classes, subclasses, and skill sets within those subclasses. What CCIM is the foundational bedrock of the mathematical understanding of underwriting. So if you understand the time value of money, how user decision analysis needs to happen, and speak the understanding between financing, your client, lawyers, all other like parties involved, and be able to be the one that stays in the room to translate between parties, that's how you add value, right? So for GVR, having access to these courses, having access to these people delivers value to their services.
It gets them closer to being there themselves.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. And so in commercial, typically you'll see something like a Bachelor of Commerce, You'll have Masters of Real Estate. All of those are education platforms where you get a degree and you go to school, and they're hard-earned and super valuable.
Mm-hmm.
The difference in CCIM is it's specifically focused on commercial real estate only. And then on top of that, you need a portfolio of actual deals done to be approved by the Institute. You actually need to be doing it, right? You have to demonstrate your value in the marketplace, meet a high threshold. And, there's 5-6 hour exams that you have to go through as well. So not for everybody.
And I think I remember you saying in a conversation we had previously that it's a far more expensive route to go through a university program as opposed to a CCIM, where there was a difference in price that was astonishing to me.
It's dramatic. So if you were to line up the CCIM curriculum just to get the designation, so 102, so 101, 2, 3, 4, 2 electives, you're probably looking at upwards of $10,000 Canadian, roughly, travel not included, depending if you have to travel. If you were to look at the masters of like an MBA in real estate at the University of Alberta, it's about $50,000, right? So the sticker shock comes from realtors and commercial realtors not seeing other options in the marketplace. And, the jump is, whoa, usually courses are $300, $200. And yeah, 101 is about $2,000 right now. But the actual performance it can deliver to you in a timely fashion with access to tools that you haven't seen yet is a dramatic value, right? And that's the repositioning that we're seeking in the marketplace right now, because we're nonprofit, right? So this is going to continue for another 60 years with or without everyone understanding this.
A university is, the real estate wing is a small portion of it, right? CCIM is laser focused on these things.
Yeah.
What is the difference between a commercial realtor with and without a CCIM designation?
Well, so that's really, okay, so CCIM will give you confidence to work across asset classes. So if you're an independent operator and you're working in a smaller office, it gives you flexibility to really grow with your clients' diversified needs. Depending on the house and the scale and institutional level of interest you're working in, you might be siloed in one specific field. So you can get hyper-focused in your career. There's a huge argument for being specialized in something, right? And there's no right way for everyone. But I think my own personal journey was I just wanted to understand everything. Like I really hated having something taken out of my hands because somebody understood it and it was going to be a black box over there. And, I wanted to know what's over there. Right. So I did the work, I researched it, and I've done deals in all the asset classes. And I really am passionate about, not stepping on people's toes, but really just like the curiosity and the professionalism to take that leap, and then the humility of understanding when you need to take a step back and bring in someone even more qualified as you grow together. And I think that's probably one of the unique things about CCIM is it opens your eyes to just how much unlimited potential is out there.
Mm-hmm. Now, we mentioned the numbers before. There's a big disparity. What is CCIM Western Canada doing to help bring those numbers up?
Yeah, so our main focus here, aside from gaining visibility, is to deliver value. So with that, we're having seminars. Some are going to be free for members. Some are going to be free for the public, but showing some of the tools that you encounter as you're a CCIM, whether you're a candidate or a designate on the way. You're going to get access to certain tools like the site to do business, which is revolutionary in what we can actually accomplish in 20 minutes. It's actually stunning. And I'm actually on the presidential advisory group with the Institute of the we have a panel on artificial intelligence that we're incorporating into the back of house. So with all that, we're working really hard and have actually made huge leaps and bounds to deliver Canadian-specific content. Right, so we can access Canadian market data now right down to street level, right, with everything you could possibly want. And these tools are, part of the process and learning how to use them and speak to them, right? Everyone can talk about demographics. What does that mean? Mm-hmm. So how do we find which 35-year-olds who speak what language in what neighborhood? What are they doing? What is their growth path in terms of population? What is their behavior? So we can do site selection. Mm-hmm. So delivering those kind of values to our members, to the general public, so they see like, whoa, That sounds really interesting and very valuable. And like typically, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, if you were in a CCIM 101 class, you'd be surprised because there'd be people in that class who are investors. We do courses with Imperial Oil in Calgary semi-regularly to educate their staff that work with real estate, and we'll take them through the entire course. We have a whole corporate wing now in the Institute that reaches out to corporate companies to actually educate their staff who deal with asset management and commercial real estate. So it's not necessarily transactional. It really is about understanding, if that makes sense.
A broad kind of spectrum
Yeah.
thing.
And then, deep dive after that, right?
Mhm.
And that's where the fun really happens because you can be creative with a lot of this stuff. When you're adding value to your clients and you're growing together, it really is an investment in each other. And it takes sort of the pressure of the transactional relationship off the table because you're finding creative solutions and getting stuff done in challenging environments. And really, that's what it's about today, especially.
Mhm. Now, we have the bulk of our listeners are residential realtors. What do you want them to know about CCIM? How can a residential realtor benefit from what CCIM has to offer?
We actually have a ton of courses on how to analyze residential real estate, like actual, one-day online courses that will teach you the time value of money and what does it mean when you're buying a house as an investment. Because it's really easy to get into something like that, but what is a 5-year plan when the mortgage goes up and what happens, right? Is your client aware of that?
It's important to understand.
It's really important. And again, these houses aren't $500,000 anymore. They're in the millions.
Mhm.
So the expectation here, and people own 3, 4, 5, 6 houses sometimes, the expectation of you, the professional, needs to be at a level to match the performance of the portfolio you're advising on. And the closer and closer we get to review of those performances, the more and more that comes to the public light that, oh, maybe, this could be better. And that's the opportunity there. So I would say any residential agents, taking the 101 is invaluable. It will change your life. It'll change how you negotiate for your next car loan. It really actually opens your eyes to just so many fundamentals that you'll read the news differently. It really is that profound.
So you heard it here first, residential realtors. CCIM 101, well worth your time. And we'll give you some really valuable insights into something tangible that you can then pass along to your clients and value, right? What is the biggest thing you think residential realtors should know about commercial realtors?
I think one of the most valuable things you can understand about commercial realtors is that we're not teachers. And so a lot, with all the best of intentions, a residential realtor will try to service their clients' needs. And if they own a warehouse, for example, they'll try to sell a warehouse. And that historically could have worked out when everything goes up every few years. These days, not having decision-making expertise behind you sets you up for some serious liability, right? So the complications on all of this stuff is just manifold, right? So I would say the approach of some residential realtors approaching a commercial agent saying, hey, I've got a client with a property, let's do the deal together and you can teach me and I'll learn. It's never going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It just is. No one has time for that. It's just not, and it is a position of humility and it's hard. Nobody wants to do that, but you actually have to say, hey, I need help with this. I understand that there's something beyond my comprehension at this point in time. I'm open and willing to get on board here and work with someone I trust, and there are people that will work with you, but the amount of calls that, people are going to send to people myself and say, hey, I've got a building downtown, let me know if you have any buyers or we can co-list it if you show me everything. It's not, it took me, and I did it fast. I did CCIM in a year, right?
Oh.
And I got my PIN and my $30 million portfolio done. And, it's really hard to explain that, to hey, we're going to get your building sold together, and have coffee a couple times and it's going to work out. And then you can go and do commercial real estate. It just isn't, it's so far from a realistic ask,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's hard not to take that and sometimes remain polite. as I'm sure many residential realtors will feel that it's hard to approach commercial agents. Like we're extremely busy, and the stuff, the scale of things, I might be on the phone talking about a 5-tower multi-phase development, and it's going to take me in half an hour to explain to you why I can't work with you on your deal that you're bringing me. So it's not a realistic use of my time. It doesn't serve my client's interest, right? So we get testy. But I think there's an openness there that with CCIM, this is a path forward, and it's an accessible olive branch for people who want to know. We're not talking about getting 10,000 CCIMs. We're talking about another 100, and maybe someday reaching 1,000 in the whole country. That could take 10 years. But if you know who's who in the zoo, you can actually do something about it, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. It almost kind of brings it right into the last question I had for you, because you got into a little bit there. What has CCIM done for you specifically in your career? What has CCIM meant to you?
It's meant everything. Like my origin story, getting into commercial, I was a small business owner, and I talked to a realtor, to sell my business, and I said to him, if you teach me commercial real estate, I'll let you sell my business. And he said, yeah, okay, sounds good. So he sold the business, and on my first day, I got my license, and I showed up to work, and I said, okay, that was amazing. How'd you do it? Like, how'd you make it happen? And he said, well, you told me the price. And I said, what? And he said, you told me the price. So I listed it and I sold it. You're welcome. And so I was like,
bada bing.
What have I done with my life? So I signed up with 101 the next day. And I actually failed it, to be perfectly honest. And it was a real inflection point for me of like, okay, what am I doing, right? And really like taking it very seriously, and then moving forward with openness and humility, and like starting to really look at things differently, right? And the opportunity, it's really easy to get lost in the never-ending ability to make commercial dollars, right? Like some of the deals you see just make your eyes spin. Like, well, how do these guys do it? It's just amazing, but you really have to be understanding that you have fiduciary responsibility to be your best in that scenario. And you are accountable. And at the end of the day, you are accountable to yourself, right? So if you can look yourself in the mirror and say like, yeah, I'm not going to fake it till I make it. I'm actually going to do this, right? And so CCIM for me was the underpinning of that growth, if that makes sense. And I'm so grateful. I do deals with other CCIMs around the country. My company was formed with a CCIM, with Cynthia at CCIM Global. And, we're looking to work with CCIMs in other markets, right? So now I just got licensed in Alberta. We're setting up an office in Manitoba and Toronto, and we'll work with CCIMs, the best of the best that we can find in those markets, and deliver value to our clients, and we'll grow with their portfolios, but the training never stops.
No.
Like I'll be taking ward classes for the next 20 years, right? And because they're, incorporating the best knowledge in the marketplace being filtered back to us as a feedback loop, right?
Well, and it's part of being a professional too, right? Just staying on top of everything. And that's something that we're really trying to drive home in the professionalism work that we're doing here at GVR too. So
it's great to see.
Yeah. And it's, it's nice to see that there's such alignment with our partners like CCIM too. So I really want to thank you for coming in today, Steve. This was a great conversation. We're, of course, pumping out the information on our member news blog as we can. Where can people go to find out more about CCIM and CCIM Western Canada in particular?
There's if you want to look at CCIM, it's ccim.com is our mothership in Chicago, and then ccimwesterncanada.com. And you'll see our course offerings there. You'll see event calendars. You can really research different course offerings on the Ward Institute as well, and then see those explainers, videos, everything is there. I also want to add the Cultural Diversity Education Program. I'm really proud of that. I got that approved just about 6 weeks ago, and already we have participants using the program here in Vancouver, which
That's amazing.
Really excited about that. So there's a lot to it, a lot for people to feel that they can really be part of something, and that's really exciting.
It's really exciting. So thank you again for coming and shedding some light on all of this for our members, both commercial and residential. There's a lot out there for them to get out of CCIM. So hopefully they're walking away from this podcast with that message. Thank you again, Steve. We really appreciate your time.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Take care.
Thanks for listening today. Our work to promote the highest standards of professionalism in real estate goes on, and CCIM offers our members opportunities to elevate your professionalism to new heights. I'm Jesse Lalime, and I'll see you down the next critical path.